Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Legacy. My name's Noah Mitchell and I'm the Senior Learning Experience Designer here at Legacy FM. And today I want to talk about something that at the beginning of my instructional design career was really quite challenging for me. And if I'm being honest, it still kind of is. And what that is handling and navigating subject matter expert meetings. So, instructional designers, we work with subject matter experts all the time to get their expert knowledge, experiences, and just everything else that they have to offer. So then we can take that and create engaging learning experiences, really good ones, right? And so that's really what I want to focus on today are those subject matter expert meetings. I'm going to give you three tips of really like three challenges of things that I struggled with that hopefully after watching this video, you won't have to struggle with as much. And I also want to say that obviously these are going to be from my personal experience as an instructional designer, but there are tons of positions out there that utilize subject matter experts. And I think that this video will come in handy for that as well. And really, furthermore, anybody who's just going to be in a meeting and wants to really like be present and engaged and, contribute to the meeting in a meaningful way, I think maybe this will help you out as well. So let's get to that first tip. So first tip, be yourself. I know that's like the most amazing advice and the most original and unique advice you've ever gotten in your life, right? All joking aside, the fact of the matter is that being in a subject matter expert meeting, especially if it's like your first, second, or third meeting, can really be nerve-wracking. I was a nervous wreck. I was super scared. I had all of the thoughts going on, like, what are they going to think about me? Are they going to think I'm good enough? Are they going to think I'm smart enough? What if they like out me as an imposter? Because my imposter syndrome was extremely strong back then. And then I was also really just anxious about like, man, you got to ask the right questions. Like you've got to ask the right questions. And what's funny about that is as I'm telling myself that, like trying to prep for the meeting, ask the right questions. I probably ended up asking like really few questions. And so what happened, because I was so nervous and I couldn't be myself and wasn't myself, I relied heavily on my boss to guide the meeting and ask the questions for me. And so every once in a while, I'd come back around to me and say, like, do you have any questions, Noah? And I'd kind of just shy away and be like, well, no, I think I'm good. And so, it's just funny because unfortunately what happened in that case is that I didn't get to ask any of the questions that I wanted to ask that I thought were maybe relevant because I was too scared and thinking like, maybe they're not as relevant as I think they are. And so that meant that I didn't get, the information that I necessarily wanted. And it just really, it makes the whole situation just a little bit more difficult and challenging for you by not being yourself. Whereas when you're yourself, I feel like it helps to establish a more genuine working relationship with the subject matter experts. Because at the end of the day, they're human beings too. They know you're not perfect and you don't have to be perfect. They know that you might be nervous if it's your first meeting, and that's okay to be nervous. And so I think just like being okay with that, but also being yourself, man, it's going to do you wonders. And so if you find yourself in a meeting and you're like, oh man, I feel nervous even in the moment, and you just like have time to reflect on that quickly, just remind yourself, okay, I'm just going to be me. Like, I'm going to be the me that I am with my friends, but as professionally as possible. And I promise it will all work out so much better. All right. So tip number 2. Since in the first tip there, I was talking about like my anxiety with asking the right questions, let's go ahead and tackle that. So another thing that I would suggest is asking open-ended questions. And so there are a lot of resources out there that you can find about this that will tell you the same thing. And so when we say open-ended questions, what we mean basically are just questions that aren't yes or no questions, because nothing's worse than being in a meeting and you ask a question and the response you get is either crickets or like, yep, or nope. what are you going to do with that? You really can't do much at all with that. And so by asking open-ended questions like what questions, when questions, or like, what do you think? Or where does this happen? Where do you think the problem is occurring? Get them to elaborate on that. And so by doing that, you're going to get obviously more of a response from them, because you're really, it's your job really to help them and to guide them into like diving deep into some of these topics or this content area or whatnot, so they can also sort of discover the root of the problem themselves. And what's cool is that by asking open-ended questions, sometimes things will come up that you yourself hadn't even thought of, and you're like, oh, yeah, we need to address that too. And it's really part of the discovery process, right? So that's definitely tip number 2. Ask open-ended questions. All right. And then for my last tip is just don't be afraid to reach out afterward. I know that it's funny, as someone who obviously likes to talk a lot. I had trouble and still do have trouble like reaching out outside of meetings to like ask for help and to like ask for things, because I feel like I'm bothering people, or I feel like, man, you should know this. You should be able to Google this on your own because you obviously are an expert. I'm not a subject matter expert. So like I can Google some things on my own, but there's a fine line between Googling on my own and then wasting, an hour and a half to 2 hours trying to find a piece of information that could very easily be obtained by just reaching out to another subject matter expert. So just don't be afraid to reach out to them. Again, they're human beings. Most of the time, I think that you're going to find they want to be as helpful as possible. I mean, obviously they're busy too. They have lives too, and they work too. So maybe they can't get back to you, but really, what's the loss if you reach out and, they just say, I'm sorry, I can't get back to you this week, maybe next week, or, maybe they don't get back to you at all, but at least you tried. But I'm willing to bet that more often than not, when you reach out to them and within that day, they're going to answer you back and say, oh man, yeah, I'd love to help. Here's what I think, or here are my thoughts, or, oh, you need a picture of this. Yeah, I think I could probably get a picture of something like that. So that's something that happens with us a lot with our SMEs, is like, hey, I would really love to have like a nice picture of this particular piece of equipment. We don't have one in our resources right now. Do you have one? Boom. Done. So yeah, those are the 3 tips that I wanted to talk about today. I won't take up any more of your time. So be yourself. Ask open-ended questions, and then don't be afraid to reach out outside of that meeting. And there's tons more. There are tons and tons of tips that I could give you that I just don't have time to give you. So, look around and check out some of the other resources online. But, hey, I hope that this helps you. I hope that your next SME meeting, you just absolutely crush. And I know you are. But that's all I have for you today. So take it easy. We'll see you next time.